We are diving back in, and today we're really at the culmination of this whole journey. We're moving past the theory, past the pendulums, and into the final principles of reality transurfing.
Mm-hmm.
This is where Vadim Zeland's work, gives you the actual keys to become and this is his term, the maker of your world.
It really is the application phase. We've spent a lot of time about how it works. Now it's all about the how to do it.
Exactly.
These aren't just concepts anymore. They're a technique, a way to consciously shape the very layer of your reality. So if you've been following along, this is where it all comes together in daily practice.
Right. And our mission today is really to distill that, to get to the core mechanics that let you shift from being sort of a passive reflection of what's happening to being the architect. And we have some really big ideas to unpack. My dual mirror, for one, and then how to shed these invisible the titanic weights, as he calls them.
Those are huge. And the principle of frail in relationships, that one is so subtle but so powerful.
It all boils down to a fundamental shift in focus, doesn't it?
It does. You stop fighting the world. You stop trying to change what is. Instead, you just choose. You select the reality track you want from this infinite library of possibilities.
From struggle to selection. I like that.
That's the goal.
Okay, let's start at the beginning then. The fundamental mechanism that really explains why reality can feel so stubborn and uncooperative. The dual mirror.
The dual mirror. So Zeland defines reality as having two interconnected natures. First, you have the physical reality.
The tangible world. The stuff you can touch and see.
Exactly. It's governed by conventional physics. You push a door, it moves. You pick up a cup, you're holding a cup. The reaction is immediate.
And that instantaneous feedback creates this massive illusion.
Right. A huge one.
The illusion that physical action, brute force, that's the only way to get things done.
Absolutely. And that illusion is what boxes you in. It puts you in a world of scarcity, of competition, of limited resources because you're only working with what's directly in front of you.
Your current strength, your current money, your current network, which for big goals is almost never enough.
Right. But the dual mirror forces us to acknowledge the second half, the metaphysical reality.
The reflection, the part we can't see but is just as real.
Just as real. And this is the space of variance. It's the information structure that contains everything. All possibilities, past, present, future, realized or not.
So that's where the blueprint for everything comes from. The circumstances, the lucky breaks, the ideal path to a goal. It all originates there.
It's all there, and we are existing in both of these spaces at once. And through our actions, yes, but more importantly, through our consistent thoughts, we are creating what he calls the layer of our world.
My personal, customized experience of reality, like my own operating system.
A perfect analogy. It determines your conditions. Is life friendly? Is it hostile? Is it a struggle? The sector of the space of variance that actually materializes for you is the one that directly matches the nature of your thoughts.
So if my thoughts are habitually focused on lack, on what's wrong, on how hard everything is, the world just starts to materialize that reality around me. It proves my inner script right.
It acts like a projector. You're holding the slide and the world is the screen. But, and this is the part that trips everyone up, we don't get that instant reflection like a bathroom mirror.
This is the time delay paradox.
Yes. Zeland's analogy is so powerful. He says the materialization is inert, like tar.
That's a great phrase because it explains why people give up. I mean, if I lift my arms in front of a mirror, I see it instantly. But if I hold a thought, a slide, for a week, and my bank account doesn't change, my logical mind just says, this doesn't work.
And that very conclusion, that thought of this doesn't work, becomes the new image that the mirror starts to reflect.
So you get the confirmation of failure.
Exactly. The time lag is significant. It's much, much longer than a physical reflection, so your busy unconscious mind just doesn't perceive the connection. It dismisses it as, unattainable magic.
So how do you work with that inertia? How do you hold the image steady long enough for the tar to set, so to speak?
You have to play the slide, the thought image of the end result, systematically over a long enough period. And it's not about straining or forcing it. It's about a regular low-tension focus on that finished reality.
And you have to maintain that positive attitude even when the physical world isn't showing you any proof yet.
That's the hardest part, because if your mind is full of doubt, if it thinks the whole process is pointless because it's not instant, the mirror just reflects the doubt. That doubt acts like friction and slows the whole thing down.
It's a feedback loop that rewards patience, but only if you know the rules. And the biggest rule seems to be that the mirror reflects your attitude, your relationship with reality, not the content of what you're asking for.
This is the core principle people miss. Let's say you're struggling with debt. If your mind is consumed by the fact of the debt, the stress, the dissatisfaction.
I hate this debt. I don't want to be poor.
Right. The mirror doesn't hear, I want to be wealthy. It just reflects the fact of your state. It says, yes, you are dissatisfied. Yes, you do not want this. It just confirms your energetic state of struggle.
And that's the mirror circle that traps people, especially with things we hate.
Oh, absolutely.
When you hate something, you pour so much energy into it. The unity of your soul and mind is laser focused on this negative image.
And the irony is, the things you hate are what you get in excess. You get annoyed by bad drivers, suddenly you're in traffic jams all day, you get angry, you magnify that feeling, and the mirror just boomerangs it right back at you.
You're chasing the reflection, trying to argue with reality.
Which only makes the original image stronger.
Okay, so that's the mechanism. And it's clear that most of our problems come from that negative attitude, which forces us to try and fix metaphysical problems with physical tools. That brings us to breaking that cycle, the cost of negative thought and this monster concept of importance.
It's what creates the loser script. It's so self-perpetuating. The person directs all their thought energy at complaining, moaning, or worse, proudly saying, I knew it would fail.
And by focusing all their attention there, the mirror just says, order confirmed, whatever you wish.
This is the perfect explanation for that self-fulfilling prophecy of wealth and poverty.
It really is. The poor get poorer, the rich get richer, because they are constantly, through their thoughts, defining their world. Life is hard. Success comes easily. The mirror just confirms that reality.
It's an energetic broadcast. If you take in negativity focusing on flaws, problems, you receive disappointments. If you transmit negativity, it comes back to you amplified. You're basically choosing a specific lifeline, a track in the space of variance that matches your vibration.
And to change the track, you have to change the broadcast first.
You have to. And the biggest thing dragging that broadcast down, creating the most friction, is importance, attributing excess meaning to things.
It's the root cause of what Zeland calls excess potential. You can't have one without the other.
That's absolutely right. And importance shows up in two main ways. First, you have inner importance.
This is overestimating your own virtues or flaws.
Exactly. I am a very important person. Or on the flip side, I'm terrible at this, I'm going to fail for sure. It's arrogance or extreme self-deprecation. Two sides of the same coin.
And what happens when you create that energetic distortion?
The universe doesn't like it.
Yeah.
Balanced forces step in to neutralize it. The arrogant hotshot gets what he calls a disappointing slap. Their brilliant idea gets ignored or fails. Reality just brings you back to equilibrium.
And the second, more common form is outer importance.
This is where you attribute massive, overwhelming meaning to an external thing, an outcome, an event.
The inner monologue is, everything depends on this. If it doesn't happen, my life is over.
Think about walking on a plank of wood. If it's on the ground, zero importance. It's easy.
Right.
Put that same plank between two skyscrapers, and the outer importance becomes astronomical. Every step is charged with this massive potential energy because the consequence of failure is so huge.
And as soon as you create that potential, the equilibrium forces rush in to get rid of it, which often means you get the exact opposite of what you want. The famous Sod's law.
If you want that job so badly that you're sick with anxiety, you're generating so much excess potential that the equilibrium forces almost have to make you fail. You're basically inviting nature to push you off that plank because you've put too much weight on it.
So how do you deal with that? If the stakes really are high, how do you reduce importance without just becoming careless?
The only way is to have a safety net, an alternative plan. You have to accept the possibility of failure before it happens.
Mentally run through the failure scenario and realize it wouldn't actually be the end of the world.
Exactly. That mental act of acceptance, of knowing you have another option, it reduces the excess potential to zero. It's not about not wanting to win. It's about being free from the dependence on winning. That's what disarms the equilibrium forces.
That makes so much sense. It's separating your self-worth from the outcome. And this reduction in tension seems to be the key to avoiding what he calls the induced transition, which is kind of terrifying.
It is, and it explains why life seems to lose its color for so many people as they get older.
It's not that the world is getting worse.
It's that the individual, by constantly complaining life isn't as good as it used to be, is literally tuning their energetic frequency to parallel lifelines where things genuinely are worse.
Wow. So they are actively leaving the favorable tracks behind and being pulled into these gray, hazy parts of the space of variance where opportunities just dry up.
It's a choice, even if it's an unconscious one. If you're chronically negative, the quality of your world layer actually changes. It starts to look at you with hostility. You get minor annoyances, things breaking, bad luck. You literally shift your entire reality to a worse version.
So every minor frustration, every crossroads, our attitude determines which branch we step onto. The event itself is neutral.
Precisely. It's your relationship to the event that matters. And once you get that, you can stop fighting the reflection and start choosing the image.
Which brings us right to activating the maker. If the mirror is the mechanism and important is the anchor, then this is about how we learn to fly, how we use outer intention.
This is the core of transurfing. Most people live their whole lives using only inner intention.
The effort to manipulate things, to force reality to do what you want.
It's trying to move the world with your own limited strength. It's the fly beating itself against the window pane when there's an open window right next to it.
Massive effort, zero results.
Correct. Inner intention is limited by what you have now. Outer intention, on the other hand, is the power to simply choose a scenario from the space of variance. It isn't limited by physics or logic or your current resources.
It's born in that unity of the soul and mind, and it exists outside of you. It literally moves the world to fulfill your choice.
So inner intention says, I'm going to fight to open this door. Outer intention says, I choose the reality where the door is already open.
That's a great way to put it. The focus shifts completely.
The key phrase is, with internal intention, you try to manipulate the reflection. With external intention, you leave the mirror alone and focus on the image of your thoughts.
You focus on the end result, not the current reality.
And that shift is where the real power lies. But it all depends on getting the heart and the mind to agree, and for most people, they're at war.
The mind is logical, chattering, easily caught by pendulums.
But the heart, the soul, it just feels and knows. It speaks the language of the alternative space. It's the source of real intuition, what Zeland calls the rustle of the morning stars.
How does it do that? How does it access that information?
It's not bound by logic, so it can randomly attune to unrealized sectors. It's why dreams can feel so real, or why those aha moments seem to come from nowhere when your mind is quiet.
The mind can only build a new house with old bricks.
But the heart can access a completely new blueprint. So the task is to learn to listen to it, to instruct your inner guardian to just pay attention to your inner state before you make a choice.
If a path feels heavy or forced, like you're pushing uphill.
That's the mind forcing things with inner intention.
But if it feels light, natural, joyful.
That's the flow of outer intention. It's the path of least resistance, what he calls the alternatives flow.
The natural, optimal movement of life. It's where the lucky breaks and serendipity live.
And any time we resist that flow, micromanaging everything, insisting on one specific method, we're just beating the water with our hands, wasting energy and creating new problems.
So the role of the maker is actually paradoxical.
Very. The maker isn't a tyrant who controls everything. They're an observer whose will doesn't subdue, it allows. You just let the world move with the flow and you stop worrying about how the goal will happen.
But that requires energy. And if all our energy is tied up, fighting the reflection or carrying these emotional anchors, there's nothing left for outer intention.
Which brings us to clearing the path, shedding the titanic weights.
People think energy is scarce, something you have to save.
But the sources are clear. Free energy is boundless. It comes from outer space. The problem isn't a lack of supply. It's that our intention is already being used to support these massive self-imposed burdens.
So the energy isn't missing, it's just busy. Like driving with the emergency brake on.
Exactly. And these weights are things like old obligations, self-imposed limits, guilt, and especially the burden of cramming information just for the sake of memorizing it.
That was interesting. Memorizing data is dead luggage. Why is that such an energy drain?
Because the intention is purely passive. It's about collection, not creation.
Right.
That creates a huge amount of internal tension. The energy of intention wants to act, to realize things. When you use it to just hold on to dead weight, you feel exhausted for no reason.
So what's the first step? How do we actually drop these weights?
You have to do an honest inventory. Literally make a list of your limitations, your old promises, the things you feel obligated to do but don't align with anymore.
And then you either do them or, and this is the key, you consciously take the weight of the obligation off. You just let it go.
And when you do that, you immediately free up huge reserves of energy. You feel lighter, more dynamic. The natural energy supply starts flowing again.
This also means changing how we approach learning, moving from passive intention memorizing to Active intention.
Yes. For example, instead of you explaining homework to your kids, have them explain it to you.
That shifts the intention from I must learn this to I am applying this.
And the tension just dissolves. Once that energy is free, though, you have to direct it toward a goal. Life is always moving. Energy is ignited by action. That's the feedback loop. Action creates intention, which creates life force.
So even if you feel low on energy, the advice is to just do something, no matter how small, to get the ball rolling.
Exactly. The real issue is the blockage from the weights, not a lack of energy. But the goal has to be yours, a true goal.
Because pursuing an alien goal is just picking up a different, heavier weight.
A true goal, he says, makes life feel like a holiday. It aligns with your unique path, your door, and it simplifies your life. It doesn't complicate it. You feel joy just in the process.
And an alien goal.
That's what pendulums push on you when you're low on energy. They're dressed up as fashion, prestige, proving your worth. If a goal feels like a heavy obligation, something you have to do, it's a foreign goal.
So getting your energy back is the first step to even finding your true door.
Absolutely. Freedom from obligation is freedom for intention. Then you just have to be specific with your goal, like a laser beam, not a lamp. The clarity of the end result is what focuses the energy of outer intention.
Okay, so we've cleared the path and set the direction. Now for the advanced day-to-day stuff. The daily practice of coordination and the game of partners.
This is where you really become the maker. By actively correcting the mirror, you consciously stop reacting to what's happening around you, and you start intentionally sending out the thought forms you want.
This sounds a little like naive, positive thinking. How is it different?
It's different because it's based on knowledge, not just belief. You accept the dual mirror as a fact of physics. So you stop reacting to the current reflection because you know it's just an echo of a past thought.
You're not waiting for the world to change so you can feel good. You're declaring a state of being first, regardless of what the mirror is showing you now.
Precisely. So when you hit a traffic jam, instead of getting angry, which would be an induced transition to a worse lifeline, you consciously declare it as positive. You say, with your will, this negative will turn into a positive.
Because every circumstance has both potentials locked inside it.
And your attitude is what determines which one gets activated. If you react negatively, you feed the negative potential. If you declare it positive, you start to activate the hidden favorable one.
This feels like it requires the ultimate level of trust. Adopting that mantra of trust, I allow the world to take care of me.
It is the ultimate letting go of inner intention. You go out without an umbrella, it looks like rain. Instead of running back, you just silently tell your world, you'll take care of me, right? You are ordering your reality layer to adjust.
But what if it fails?
Yeah.
What if you get soaked? How do you not slide right back into doubt?
This is critical. You have to internalize that the failure wasn't the world ignoring you. It was a perfect reflection of your own subconscious doubt.
The mirror reflected my hesitation.
Flawlessly. So you don't get offended, you don't feel defeated, you just recognize the weakness in your focus and you keep going in the right direction. The attitude correction has to be permanent.
This level of non-reaction requires real detachment, what he calls the coordination of importance.
And it's the antidote to chasing confidence, which is just temporary excess potential. Detachment isn't carelessness. You do your job, you act with integrity, but you do it with a cool head, without creating any excess potential around the outcome.
You let go of the emotional need to control everything. So if you're in an argument, you just let the other person beat their hands on the water, unless your core interests are at stake.
And that calm, detached behavior is felt by others. They sense your significance doesn't need their approval, and they start treating you with more respect. The need to prove yourself just dissolves.
Now we have to apply this to the messiest part of life. Relationships. The game of partners and frail.
Success here depends entirely on attuning to the other person's unique personality traits, what they value about themselves. That's their frail.
And we usually fail because we're using inner intention. We're focused on what we want to get from them. Respect, love, compliance.
But if you look deeper, everyone at their core just wants their individual self-worth to be confirmed and protected.
That's the pivot point.
It is. You shift to outer intention. You stop focusing on getting affirmation and you start actively giving it. If you need someone to do something for you, you have to frame it in a way that increases their sense of importance.
Okay, let's play this out. I need a colleague to take on a tough project. Inner intention would be, hey, I need you to do this for me.
Right, but outer intention would focus on their frail. Maybe they pride themselves on their precision. So you say, look, I have this project, and it requires a level of precision that, frankly, only you have. This is a chance for you to really showcase that unique skill.
You're working with their inner intention, allowing them to fulfill their need for confirmation, which then helps you.
It's a profound strategic shift. It means you have to actually pay attention to other people instead of just your own needs.
And the opposite of that, when there's conflict or criticism, he calls that anti-frailing.
Yes. Argument and criticism are just the mind's battle with the alternative's flow. Criticizing someone is a direct attack on their frail, their self-worth. You have to avoid it at all costs.
But what if they're just factually wrong, and you have to correct them?
You meet them emotionally without compromising your position. The person arguing is trying to protect their own worth. So first, you agree with what they're trying to say. You preserve their self-worth.
So instead of, you're wrong, the policy is X, you say.
You say, I completely see why you feel that way, and your point about efficiency is valid. The way the policy is designed, however, is to handle that specific issue. Here's how. You go with their emotional flow, and the results are 1,000 times better.
This really is a complete transformation. We've gone from seeing reality as this random, chaotic thing to seeing it as a dual mirror, just waiting to reflect our intention.
We've covered the whole path, understanding the mirror, freeing up your energy, and then coordinating your intention. When you do that, you stop running in the mirror circle, and the world starts moving towards you.
And it delivers things you never could have planned for with your limited logical mind.
That's outer intention at work. It finds a way. As Zeland says, coincidence is a pseudonym for God when he does not want to leave his signature.
You stop being afraid of a world that everyone else says is hostile or difficult. You become the maker, and you operate not by forcing, but by allowing.
Yes, allowing the flow to bring you the best possible path.
And as we close this out, there's a final provocative thought here. If every living being has been given the freedom and the power to shape their own reality, and if our true intention, born from the unity of heart and soul, is also the intention of the Creator, then how can there be any doubt that your intention will be fulfilled?
Do not ask, do not demand, do not struggle, just create.